Chief River Nursery. Shrubs, dogwoods, the gray dogwood and red osier dogwood are really, really great native plants for birds. Viburnums, like the high bush cranberry, has a it's a native to Door County and the island. Juneberry, these are the amelanchier. Um, a lot of the amelanchier, that's that really beautiful, one of the first flowering trees um, in along fence rows and field edges in the early spring. Just a gorgeous plant. I think with all the junipers we have, it has a lot of um, cedar rust on it. Gathering Ground is actually going to be planting a variety that's meant to have some immunity to cedar rust. So hopefully they thrive well. Hazelnuts, nine bark, really great early flowers in the landscape. Elderberry, sumac. That's supposed to say bush honeysuckle. Bush honeysuckle is a plant that that Hoot Blossom will have available this spring as well. We hope to. They looked pretty good last fall. Bush honeysuckle is not the invasive honeysuckle. Bush honeysuckle is Dyervilla lanicera, little yellow flower, and great for a kind of an edge with some sun right up next to the, again, it's that ditch kind of plant, sun with some shade around it. Okay, so I'll talk about some plants for specific context. These are all plants that I keep saying that Hoot Blossom has available. Jacob's Ladder is a really great spring ephemeral. It loves shade. It'll flower really early on. It's a great pollen and nectar source for bees really early in the year. Those bumblebees, as long as they're active, they need to be gathering food. So it's really great to be able to have these flowers available for them really early in the year. This is one that'll be blooming even on the island, blooming in probably mid-May. I mean, it's there with a lot of really early spring ephemerals. It's durable, gets to a couple feet, deer resistant. It likes a range of soils. So again, most importantly is that it loves some shade. Some partial sun is okay. And it's a Wisconsin native. Excuse me. Okay, columbine, of course, shade-loving plant, early pollen and nectar source. Great for the home landscape. It's a short-lived perennial, but it readily self-sows. So once you have it, you tend to usually have it, continuously have it. Very common on the island. Really great plant. I mean, there's just everything to love about that one. That's one that you can plant in full shade or partial shade. One that I really like that I see growing around the island, zigzag goldenrod. We see it growing right up next to our barn, so it really likes shade and kind of moisture areas. But it's an unusual shady plant in that it blooms in the fall, so it's kind of nice to have as a late pollen source for bees. It's a great landscape plant and durable. Once it's established, it's deer resistant. Although I've had deer munch on some young plants that I put in the ground around our farm. Okay, so there's a few shady plants. We'll talk about some for dry, sandy soil. This is Coreopsis. This is a workhorse plant. It's all over the island, and we can plant more of it. It's a really beautiful plant. If you deadhead it, it'll keep producing flowers, and often produces flowers in twice in the year, again in the fall, especially if it's really happy. It will 6 hours of sunlight, so full sun. Great general pollen and nectar source for lots of different insects and pollinators. Just a really good, beautiful plant. And this is one that you can find a lot of different varieties and cultivars because it's grown for landscaping beds. We use a wild seed source, and I'd encourage you, if you want to grow it from seed, to use a wild seed source. Hoot Blossom will have 2-year-old plants and 1-year-old plants available this year. 2-year-olds will definitely bloom in abundance like this year. So this is a really common one I see in the ditches. around the island. I just can't say enough positive about Coreopsis. Butterfly weed, or Asclepias tuberosa. So if you want to diversify your plantings for monarchs, if you've already got common milkweed, but you want to grow some others, this is a good one. It is native. It's found in Door County. It likes dry soil. So if you have dry soil, this is a great one to use. It is deer resistant and perennial. It's a little trickier to establish than some native plants. So I think that's partly because it has a taproot. And so when you're planting it, you just have to really make sure that that taproot is not disturbed. But once I've planted maybe 5 around our property, and I've gotten 2 of them to bloom now. So, and they get a little bit of shade too. I think that's what might have slowed them down. But so it's possible to establish them. It just can take some time. This is a new one for Hoot Blossom to propagate this year. It's called Slender Beard Tongue, found on the island. I haven't personally found it, but I'm told it's here. Sun-loving plant, early pollen source for bumblebees. Again, this one is great for bumblebees and for hummingbirds. Very showy and beautiful. Loves dry, sandy soil. We're also doing a bunch of other pin stamens at Hoot Blossom. We're doing like 4 or 5 others in addition to this one. The Penstemon digitalis and a few others. I think 3 of the 5 have a historical record in Door County, and the others are Wisconsin natives. Okay, medium dry soils or seasonally dry soils. This is a plant that I love. I've come to love it more and more over the last couple of years. It's called brown-eyed Susan, or Rudbeckia triloba. It has this red stem you can see, and just an abundance of these gorgeous yellow flowers. It's a very durable plant. It's really easy to grow. It's highly recommended. I'm trying to start more and more of these. I have some 2-year-olds and I'm starting more right now. It doesn't spread if that's important to you. It really pairs well with other tall wildflowers. This one gets up to 3 feet. Just a really beautiful plant. And very durable, and it seeds, so it'll spread seed around, and so in that sense it does spread, but you can easily weed those out if it's too full for you. But it's just a really great plant. I can't say enough about it for a home landscaping type of context. Another Rudbeckia that I really recommend for a home landscape is sweet black-eyed. This one is really durable. This is a perennial. So a lot of the black-eyed Susans are biennials. I've heard there are some annuals out there too. I get a little confused with all the Rudbeckias, but Rudbeckia hirta is the normal black-eyed Susan. Rudbeckia subtomentosa is a really lush foliage plant. So very different from the black-eyed Susan in that regard, but still puts on an abundance of flowers. So this is one that is really showy, really great for a home landscape. We have Hoot Blossom has 2-year-old plants and 1-year-old plants of this one too, because we've started propagating this one a lot. It's such a good workhorse for the home landscape and easy to grow. All the cone flowers are great. They all get a little bit taller. Hoot Blossom is doing the 3 you see here. So topped clockwise, the yellow one there is Bush's coneflower, and then the bottom right corner is pale purple coneflower, and then of course purple coneflower on the left bottom. So all of these also average moisture soils, really good work in the landscape. Usually bloom in the fall or late summer fall. They're really great to pair with goldenrod and New England aster, all about the same height of plants. This is a new one for us to do this year, but I'm excited about it. Found in Wisconsin. It's called cream gentian, so it's in the gentian family. Likes full sun, and it's a late pollen source, so a late bloomer, and pretty diverse in the type of soils it accepts. and just really unusual, beautiful cream colored flowers. So I'm excited about growing this one. New England aster is one you find all over Door County, especially down in the county. I see it on the island a little bit, but um, we're growing it for the first year this year. Really great plant, and it gets pretty tall, so you can mix it with some other tall perennials, and just a really great late season uh, flower. We also have 2-year-old and 1-year-old mountain mint. This is one that's Wisconsin native as well. No record from what I remember of being in Door County, but located in Wisconsin. And it's easy to grow. I really like it for that reason. Bees love it. Um, and in my experience so far, it doesn't spread like you can hear mint and get really scared. It doesn't spread like the common mint, but it still is really easy to grow. You can pair it with some of these other tall natives. Blazing Star is another of my favorites. We grow one that's there's a lot of different species out there native to Wisconsin. There's one in particular. This one in particular is native to Door County. And so once it's established, it's really it really thrives. I guess that's it needs a little TLC in the beginning because it's very thread-like leaves, but once you get it established, it really does beautifully, and produces a huge diversity, or attracts a huge diversity of insects and pollinators generally. All of our Liatris are just loaded with bees and butterflies all throughout their blooms. So they're a lot of fun to have around. Okay, if you're fortunate enough to have a little patch of moist soil, here's a few plant species for you. I will say that a moist soil, you don't necessarily think of a wetland where there's standing water or something like that. It's more like a moist garden soil. Like it just holds moisture all year long. And if you're willing to do a little watering in July and August, you might have very good luck with these wet or moisture plants. Okay, so don't think these plants aren't for you just because you don't have a wetland. And if you do have a wetland, plant them on the edge. Don't plant them right in the standing water. Cardinal flower is a great one, good source of food for hummingbirds. It's going to want 6 hours. And this is another one. This is one that we have growing in our landscape at Hoot Blossom, and it is, I would say, it's loamy sandy soils. It's not wet soil. It does get a little bit of water in the summer, but it's thrived and is blooming every year now for 3 years. So it's possible to grow it even without a wetland. But if you have really dry soil and you don't want to water, a nice substitute that we are growing this year is called Royal Catchfly. It's a Wisconsin native, but very similar looking shape